Welcome back to the in-house Fever Clan tournament. This is a best of 5. You're currently sitting 1-1. Game 1, going to billydabob. Game 2, going to the one and only Pink Protoss, Synizta. In the top right-hand side of Daybreak, a very nostalgic map for me, we have billydabob. I say this map is nostalgic, and for a very important reason. For PVZ. Why PVZ? Well, this was the map, the climax of the Roach Broodlord versus Mothership Blink Stalker Sentry Immortal. And then you could Archon Toilet because of the Broodlords. Look, the point is, it's when PVZ ended the same way it did every single time. You either got the Vortex and everything got sucked in, or you missed it and you died. Anyways, let's jump right into this game here on Daybreak. We have a very standard opening coming in here for Synizta. We got a double gate before the Cybernetics core. This can mean a double adept push from Synizta towards billydabob. We'll have to see if he does decide to go for that. billydabob not doing anything too aggressive, as he is only taking the 1 gas for now. Probably going to grab that speed right when he gets about 100 gas, just to be safe in case things like double adept come at your front door. But let's recap a little bit of last game while we wait for this game to escalate to something, interesting. We do have the 2 adepts on the way here from Synizta, by the way. But last game was interesting. billydabob had a huge advantage. He had 5-6 bases, had pretty much the entire map, but he was very passive going up against Synizta. And Synizta, with some neat warp prism harassment, kind of caused billydabob to go for Mutalisk when he wanted to go for Hydralisk. And I think that went in Synizta's favor, as Synizta had a much better army to kill Mutalisk than he did to kill Hydralisk. So basically what ended up happening was the A-moved Zerg army full of Mutalisk entered the Protoss base, got annihilated, and billydabob had a very difficult time really restabilizing after losing the army, which was quite interesting considering he had the entire map. But Synizta, he did exactly what he needed to do. He played his cards right, and he came out on top. So we'll have to see if billydabob can pull it back in this round to bring it to 2-1 in his favor or not. But to hold that thought, we do have the Shades now making their way into the main base, but they are canceled as there are already roaches on the field, and a significant number of roaches, I might add, as well. These could all be drones, but instead they're being invested into roasteds? Yes, my favorite unit, the Zerg Roasted. This sounds like something like a Hellion came out and popped a few drones, but regardless, this could have been drones, but it's not. It's into roaches, and billydabob is going to make his way across the map to see if he can get some damage done here on Synizta. Synizta trying to do his best to get a little wall off here, make it harder for the Zerg to engage. Oh, but some out of position adepts. One does go down before the battle begins, and there is only 1 pylon for Photon Overcharge, but it might be all he needs. And billydabob going to start doing aggression on this wall early. The second adept is going to go down. We're left with Photon Overcharge, and the Mothership core. The roaches try to make their way up, but a well-positioned Zealot is going to stop them a little bit longer. But another Photon Overcharge up top is going to force these roaches to come back here behind the mineral line. They do get a probe for their efforts, but so far these roaches haven't got a lot done, which is in Synizta's favor. And without a mortal out, it should be able to help clean up the rest of these roaches. I do not think these roaches are going to be able to get anything else. Maybe 1 more pylon for their trouble. Yes, it looks like the trade-off was a pylon and a couple adepts and a stalker, but honestly, it really wasn't worth it. If that was all invested into drones and a 3rd base location a lot sooner, then Synizta or billydabob would be in a much better economic situation to progress into the late game. Whereas we have Synizta with 2 Immortals out already. I think he did stop probe production during the chaos, which is a little unfortunate. But regardless, Synizta is sitting pretty with tech. That honestly should have done a lot more damage than what it did. I think there was some indecision there from billydabob. And Synizta now sitting pretty. He went for the early tech. The roaches came and they should have done the damage, but unfortunately they were unable to do that. So we're going to have to see if billydabob can catch himself back up here into a position where he feels comfortable actually moving out onto the map again, because right now, ooh, hold that thought, as we do have a 3 zealot warp in, but I don't think 3 is going to be enough. You need 4 to like super out DPS a building from coming in from Zerg, but it doesn't look like it really matters as the Lings and Roaches do show up. So unfortunately the pylon is going to be sacked, the zealots will be lost, and no real damage being done there, so not quite worth it. He does have the HP down about a 5th, so he might want to come back with a Warp Prism, maybe try to snipe that, but it is pretty high on HP, so I'm not sure if that is going to work out very well for him. And interesting tech decision coming in here from billydabob. He's going to go for the Baneling Nest. Now, I don't know if this is because he saw the massive amount, or not the massive amount, but the amount of adepts that were made at the beginning of the game by Synizta. So this is just his reaction to it, to go for that Baneling Nest, even getting that Infestation Pit. Of course, the Infestation Pit isn't that crazy as he wants to go up to that Hive tech, but of course this is a very early Hive, especially since we haven't even started 1-1 upgrades. So we're going to have to see if that is for Infestors and Banelings, or if he's simply getting it for that Hive tech. Synizta almost done with his 3rd base location. No wall off, which might cause problems a little bit later. But 1-1 now on the way for our Zerg billydabob, and 1-1 not quite created yet here for our Protoss. So there might be a timing window that billydabob is going to be able to hit and take out a lot of this army with that 1-1 upgrade. But we'll have to see what he decides to do. And he is going to go for the Banelings. And the way they're positioned, it almost looks like he wants to drop the Banelings. But there is no Overlord in position quite to do that. Oh my gosh, I'm blind. It's literally right there. Alright, the Overlord is going to make its way over. We're going to have to see just what he can do with this. Let's open up that workers kill tab as we want to see how many workers do go down here. Does Synizta see it? The Overlord is getting closer, and the Banelings are going to start dropping, and 1 goes down, 2 goes down, 3 goes down, and 4 Banelings go down, causing a total I'm dying. Oh god, 8 workers are killed. Oh god, I'm dying. Sorry, I'm allergic to fucking Baneling bullshit. Alright, excuse me. We do have some stalkers warped in now, but of course they are a bit late. We do have a couple more Banelings that look like they might want to be dropped here by billydabob, but I don't think he's going to do it with those stalkers in position, but we'll have to wait and see if he does decide to go through with it. We do have the Hive tech on the way and no Infestors, so it looks like the Infestation Pit was purely for the Hive and the Banelings were purely for that drop, which did do some significant econ damage. They definitely paid for themselves, so good drop there by billydabob. He's transitioning into that Roach Hydra composition that we've been seeing from him quite frequently, so we'll have to see if Synizta is ready for it. I mean, he does have the Immortal Sentry Stalker composition, and he is progressing into Void Ray Colossus. See, this is the problem with pretty much doing the same thing every game, is I think Synizta knows what billydabob is going to do. I think he knows the early game Roaches into those Hydralisk, so he went for that early Immortal. He has now the composition he needs to take on Roaches, and he's starting to transition into things that can deal with Hydralisk. So it's kind of unfortunate that billydabob is kind of doing the same thing he's been doing, because I don't think this Roach army is going to have a chance against this Protoss army. As you can see, he does cast a few force fields and already starts picking off a couple of these Roaches. Of course, the Roaches do have that 1-1 advantage, whereas billydabob, if I'm not mistaken, does not even have a forge yet. So if billydabob does continue to upgrade, pretty soon he's going to have a 2-2 advantage, and it doesn't really matter at that point if Synizta has the counter to the army, as 2-2 versus 0-0 is a significant advantage for the Zerg player. Synizta moving out now, going to start making his way across the map, but what is going on over here? Oh, it was another Baneling drop. Hey, what did we get? Oh, we're up to 12 workers killed, so we didn't get too many, but hold that thought as we do have the armies engaging. One force field goes down, and there's the rest of the force fields keeping out all the reinforcements, and the army does try to get away. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, they all melted, and none of them decided to fire back with those force fields up, and it's going to be hard for billydabob to defend this base. I think it is 100% dead, and I do not think he's going to try to defend it, and I do not blame him. That is going to be a tough situation or a tough army to try to kill with the current units that billydabob has. However, as you can see, the supply has shifted in billydabob's favor as he has started forcing out units. But oh no, caught with his pants down halfway up the ramp, and he's going to lose another base here. Synizta going to go and take out this expansion, and billydabob now down to 3 expansions. And hold that thought, as we did have a warp prism come over here, and some zealots were spawned to try to kill the rest of this hatchery, but it does survive. We're going to have to see if billydabob decides to transfuse that. But while we went back to some passive play, as Synizta did pull back, I want to bring up something that billydabob did that is very important. A lot of players, they understand that hotkeys are important, so they start hotkeying their army, they start hotkeying their buildings and all that, and that's good because hotkeys are very important. But it's also important to remember boxing is just as important. And in that situation, when the force fields were on that ramp and half his army was there, he should have boxed to the back half. But let's hold that thought. As the armies may be engaged, we do have a blink forward with the stalkers. He has to be careful though. If billydabob is quick with his reaction, he can A-move and get a lot of those stalkers before the rest of the army does engage. And another set of good force fields is going to keep the Zerg army from engaging. And Synizta is going to be able to pick off some more of those units. But here's the problem with Synizta's composition. We only have 4 sentries, which means we have enough energy. They're 50 each, as I thought. We have 2, 3, 4, almost 5. We only have 5 more force fields. So if he goes to attack right now, he'll have 5 force fields and be completely out of energy. So he'll have to use those very well with only building 4 sentries. He is deciding not to build anymore, going for that high Templar tech, which I don't blame him, as he wants to get the storms onto those squishy Hydralisks. But as I was saying earlier, if this ramp gets force fielded, you know, most players, they're going to have the instinct to press 1 or whatever their army is, so 3 for billydabob. Then they're going to right-click back because they want their army to leave because they're getting shredded. But in that situation, you'll want to box. Box, right-click. Let this do as much damage as it possibly can, as it's going to die. So just remember, and it seems simple, but when you're playing, it's not so simple. But boxing is just as important as hotkeys in several situations. But regardless, billydabob is struggling to take another expansion. I'd like to see him try to take this one, as this one is towards Synizta. It's always important to expand away from your opponent, because as you can see, Synizta has to walk up a ramp, dead. Walk up the ramp, dead. Whereas if it was over here, he pretty much has to leave all of his bases wide open to come over and try to kill the expansion. So as a rule of thumb, it's very important to expand away from your opponent. Now sometimes it's not that simple. It's not always that. You can't just always say that, because depending on the map layout, there might be situations where there's enough airspace where drops and muta or whatever can cause you serious issues. Because if you drop here and the army comes up here, then you come way down here and drop here, then you get a crazy situation. But yes, expand away from your opponent if possible, and deal with the drops the best you can, because the better the player, the more multi-prong that's going to be happening. As you can see, the warp prism is doing exactly what I was about to say. He's going to come up here, and we'll have to see if Synizta decides to attack in another location. While that happens, we do have the mothership core coming up 3 attack and 2 defense is on the way. Almost 3 defense for billydabob, whereas the Protoss army is finally on that 1-1. We do have a warp in with a bunch of zealots coming in, and they are going to be able to snipe the Roach Warren. We're going to have to see if billydabob remembers to make that quickly or not. But unfortunately, the army is not really coming to engage and deal with this. He's going to lose a lot of tech. The Lurker Den is also going to go down, and billydabob not dealing with this. The Lurker did come up here, but all these zealots have to do is not be here, and the Lurker isn't a threat. Unfortunately, I think Synizta is going to try to kill the Spire, and he might get it. No, finally. More army did get pulled up by billydabob, and this is what I'm talking about. You see how billydabob left his army here and then only brought a few units up to deal with this? This is why you can expand away from your opponent the better you get, and why boxing is important. If he would have brought his army, he would have been able to kill this base while the army was up here dealing with the drop. So, yeah, side tips by Dark Slayer. You're welcome. Thumbs up. Winky face. Alright. We do have some Archons finishing up. We do have a bunch of storms ready. Those High Templar are full of storms. And here we go. The Zerg army is wanting to engage. They have a pretty nice concave. No force fields are going down. We do have a Guardian Shield, though. Finally, some storms are coming in. But unfortunately, that's a lot of Zerg army. And billydabob now deciding to move back. He is going to build 39 more roaches on the way. Not going to continue up that Hydralisk backline, which means the DPS will be quite low for our Zergy player, and he has no way to deal with the mothership right now. This mothership is causing him all sorts of issues because he cannot see 50 to 60% of this army as we speak. The roaches are popping out and trying to do as much damage as they can. And billydabob now in a situation where he needs to basically what billydabob needs to do right now is he needs to expand down here. He needs to keep injecting like crazy. You can see there's no injection here, there's no injection here, and there's no injection here, and this is going to kill billydabob. You can even see he doesn't have the resources up here that he needs because he keeps losing this expansion and he keeps losing this expansion. So remaxing for billydabob is going to be hard. So as I was saying, he needs to expand here and he needs to get the injects going. If he's low on larva, if Synizta decides to go in for another attack, then billydabob is going to be in a situation where those 39 roaches aren't going to be there, and Synizta is going to be able to just take the game. Synizta is up to that 2-2. He does have the +3 attack on the way. We do have the +3 armor coming in for our Zergy player. And the Warp Prism, unfortunately, does see the hatchery go down right as it is starting to be built, and he does get the snipe on it. So billydabob in a very bad economic situation. We do have these charges coming in to try to do more damage, but they will get cleaned up. And we do have Corruptors on the field to deal with the mothership core, so that means that the Warp Prism is unfortunately countered as well. Synizta doing a good job checking for those bases, and Synizta, he's being patient, he's playing the long game. He knows he's got billydabob in a situation where if billydabob tries to expand, I think Synizta is just confident enough right now that he says, look, if you try to expand, I'm going to stop it. You're not going to mine minerals, and I'm going to win the game. And it's pretty much that simple for Synizta. And as you can see, he's reached 200 supply. And as these Archons finish up, we'll probably see a move out here for Synizta, as there's no reason for Synizta to not move out right now. He does have an extra base going down. We'll probably see a probe transfer there pretty soon. In fact, that might be it right there, and it is. We have 9 workers already on the way, and Synizta says, you know what, my econ's in a good position. I can take your army on a one-on-one fight. And Synizta now going to force the issue. He's going to move his way across the map, and the huge engagement does begin. But like I said, there is so much Protoss here. The tech, the Archons, the Colossi, the Immortals, the Void Rays. So much DPS coming in from the Protoss army. However, a significant trade does go off, so a lot of the Protoss army does take some significant losses here, and it looks like billydabob actually capable of pushing the Protoss army back, and I must say I am quite surprised with this. Unfortunately, the Colossus does go down, but another warp in of Zealots is going to be able to hold the front lines for those Colossus to do a lot of damage. But oh no, there is no Immortal on the, or Observer on the field, which means that those Lurkers are enough to hold off Synizta for the time being. I'm quite surprised that it went such a one-way there. Well, I say one-way, it was pretty even, but unfortunately, I thought the Protoss army would have had it, And I think it might be due to simply the 3-3 not being completed for the Protoss player, but the Zerg having that 3-3 gave him the advantage it needed to be able to deal as much damage as it needed to keep Synizta from pushing to the end of the game. But let's remember what I was talking about earlier. Look at the supply. It's 155 to 76. Synizta's supply is going to keep increasing, whereas billydabob is going to be in a very slow pace. He's got a very low amount of larvae. He's only got 4 at this hatchery, no inject. He's got 6 at this hatchery, no inject. 3 no inject, and 3 no inject, with no money. So billydabob, while he was capable of holding against Synizta, it does not mean that he's in a good situation. billydabob is still wanting to hold off as long as he possibly can, and he is going to do a little bit of a attack over here on this expansion of Synizta with a couple of Hydra and Roaches to try to do as much damage as he can. But as the army comes up to engage, excuse me, billydabob is not going to really be able to do much. Oh no, and now billydabob is forced into a situation where he has to commit, and billydabob trying to come in here and get some probes, but unfortunately he isn't focus firing, which means that the army is just going to attack those zealots and not really much is going to happen. It's now 70 supply to 184 with a Protoss that is on 3-2 with +1 shields, and billydabob is in a situation that does not look good. Synizta expanding once again, keeping that economy high. We even have some Tempests on the field, not 100% sure why. Probably to deal with lurkers if I had to guess, but oh, there it is. We did finally get an observer, which means that the observer mixed with those Tempests means that the lurkers are not going to be much of a threat. And it looks like Synizta is not going in for the kill. I thought that was it. I thought Synizta was going in to deal with this wounded Zerg who's trying to lick his wounds and get back into this game. But I don't think Synizta realizes the advantage that he does have right now, or I do believe that this game would be already over. But he's sitting at 200 supply, so I'm not quite sure. He did wait. Oh, okay. He was waiting for those 2 Colossi there, and now he does move in to kill the lurkers. Be careful, by the way. This army basically got EMP'd just because he moved in close to deal with those observers. Synizta has been very patient this game, but being a little bit more patient and using the Tempest to kill those lurkers, this army would still have its shields, but I don't think it matters. This little lowly Zerg force, I don't think it's going to be able to do much with the Time Warp coming down. Excuse me. These Roaches and Hydras are just going to melt. There's too many Colossus. billydabob in a very bad situation. Very low on larva, very low on econ. His supply dropping like flies as the Colossus move in to the natural expand of billydabob. One last push from billydabob, but it is futile. And it looks like Synizta is going to bring the series 2-1 in Synizta's favor. And there it is. Synizta taking down billydabob twice in a row. billydabob taking game 1, Synizta taking game 2 and game 3. That means Synizta is on match point. Will he win the next round and close the series? Or will billydabob bring it back, making the series 2-2? I'm Dark Slayer, and I'll see you next round.